Hello everybody, welcome to this episode of SQL in the City Streamed. I'm going to talk to you today about the business value of DevOps. By the way, I'm Kathy Kellenberger. I'm the editor of Simple Talk and a DevOps advocate, and you can find me on Twitter at Aunt Kathy. So over the last few years or maybe a couple of decades, our lives have changed so much because of technology. I think about shopping for holiday gifts, for example. 20 years ago, I would pile into a car with some of my friends and family, and we'd drive about an hour to the biggest shopping mall in our area and spend the entire day on Black Friday trying to get all of our shopping done for the holiday. So some people, the enthusiasts, they had a wonderful time. It was amazing for them. For myself, however, usually by about lunchtime, I'd have a terrible headache and just couldn't wait to get home. So luckily today, things are quite different. Of course, we still have Black Friday in the US. Now it's a little different. What happens is all of these stores advertise these crazy bargains, and people actually camp out, stand in line outside the stores waiting for them to open to get the television for $10 or some crazy thing like that. And by lunchtime, usually those stores are emptied out. So it's not the whole day adventure as it used to be. So people like me, I do all my shopping online. Amazon gets quite a bit of my money at holiday time. So digital technology is a key driver in virtually all customer experiences today. So there are companies like Uber who have disrupted entire industries. Just a couple of weeks ago, I went to a concert with my daughter and her husband, and instead of dealing with parking and traffic and all of that, we just got an Uber to the concert. It was really great, and I love watching the little car coming to pick me up. I just love that, as long as the driver doesn't stop at Starbucks for 15 minutes, which did happen to me recently. That was annoying. So once customers get a taste of what can be, they don't want to go back. So if you wait to see what your competitors are up to, you're going to get left behind. And the most successful companies today are not so worried about competitors, they are customer-centric. So if you expect your customers to just wait around for you to catch up with your competitors, guess what? Your customers are just going to switch over to those competitors instead of waiting. So what happens if a customer goes to your website to try to buy something or schedule a service and they encounter an error, they can't place the order? They're not going to wait around. They might try it another time. That's what I would do. I'm pretty patient. But if there are any options at all, they are going to find another way to get the service that they're needing. And you've lost that sale and possibly all future sales from that customer. So technology is really changing how customers behave today. So we have to innovate, and we have to keep those customers happy. Or I often see the word delighted, describing how we want the customers to feel. And we want them to keep coming back again and again. And how do we enable that innovation? How do we move so quickly? And the way to really enable innovation in your organization is by adopting DevOps. And this is one definition of DevOps from Donovan Brown at Microsoft. It's the union of people, process, and products to enable continuous delivery of value to our end users. So you'll notice there, it's not a software package that Mr. Brown is talking about. It's not something you can buy, and it's not something that actually just affects developers and operation folks. It's really about delivering value to customers and doing it very quickly. Here's another definition. This one's from DASA. I like how in both of these definitions, the focus is more on people and culture, and it's not on any prescribed methodologies. Yeah, sure, a lot of places that have DevOps, they use agile techniques, except evidently a lot faster maybe. But it's not about certain tooling. It's not about a certain way of doing things. It's really something that affects the entire organization from the top down to the bottom. I searched for DevOps principles and I found a lot of lists, usually 4, 5, 6 different items, and I really, really like this one. So I could probably spend an hour going over these principles, but I really want to focus on the first one. This to me is how I can really see how DevOps leads to business value, because if we're not centered on our customer, we are not going to be successful in today's world. So customer-centric action, to me, at least for this talk, is what I'm going to think about. Maybe I can have another session next time on all of these principles. We'll have to see. So here's what DASA says about customer-centric action. So they're talking about short feedback loops. And I know a lot of us in IT, a lot of us are kind of shy. Sometimes it's hard for us to talk to customers, but it's really about getting that feedback, getting it quickly, being able to change, to pivot. If something's not working, to drop that idea and go with something else. And we're constantly providing new features, new services, new products that our customers are going to love. So you might be wondering, okay, I'm a DBA. How does this apply to me? How does customer-centric action or thinking apply to a DBA? So if someone comes in and says to me, Kathy, what are your responsibilities as a DBA? And I might sum it up by saying I keep the data available and secure and performing well. And that's absolutely right. It's not wrong. But I really need to be thinking about something bigger. I need to be thinking about the big picture, about the things that I do and how I cooperate with other teams to really deliver something of value to the customers and to the end users, and that is going to translate into the company's bottom line and keep it in competitive, keep it in business, really. So I want to tell you a story about pizza, the story of Domino's, and they are a fantastic business case to really study. They started out as a small family business back in the 1960s, which is almost 60 years ago, if I've done the math right in my head here. They are now the second largest pizza company in the United States, and they have 15,000 stores worldwide. It's really amazing, all over the world. They're really more than a pizza company. They're a technology company that happens to sell pizza. So their outlook right now is fantastic. Their stock price is up. I don't know exactly how much now, but I saw some numbers where at one time, not too long ago, maybe about a dozen years ago, it was down under $10, and at some point it was over 160. So they're a company that's really, really grown in value, but it wasn't always so rosy for them. In fact, they got to be known as a company that could deliver crummy pizza really fast. People didn't necessarily like the quality or the taste of the pizza. And what ended up happening is the CEO at the time, Patrick Doyle, said this: you can either use negative comments to get you down, or you can use them to excite you and energize your process to make a better pizza. We chose the latter. So what they did is they began to collect as much feedback from customers as they could. They got it from emails, interviews, focus groups, Twitter, text. They just encouraged people. They even had some little forms on the pizza boxes asking people what they thought about the pizza. The problem is, well, maybe not a problem, but some of the worst things that people said was the box tastes better, things like that. And I don't remember. I actually lived about half a block from a Domino's at one time. So we got Domino's quite often. I don't remember it being that awful, actually. But anyway, people were not happy with the taste. And so Patrick Doyle is evidently an extremely smart man, and he started listening to the customers and taking that feedback and and using it to really change the company. And they came up with this thing called the pizza turnaround. And the first thing they did was listen to customer complaints. And as I said, they gathered all this information and took it to heart. And they really, I kind of think that people maybe have just been a little mean to them, but maybe I'm too sensitive. So they also embraced the power of social influence. They created ads. It kind of made fun of them, where, like in this case, this is just a picture from one of the YouTube videos, and go out and check them out. They're kind of cute. This one, they decided to come up with some better formulas, and these are two of the chefs who surprised one of the people that had been in a focus group and had them test the new recipe to see if it was good. So they were doing all kinds of things like that. They had some of their employees read these terrible things on pieces of paper, and you could see just how their hearts were breaking reading these things. So it was quite entertaining, quite cute. They also embraced transparencies, and one really, really cool thing that they did back in 2007 was create this app where you could order your pizza. And okay, yeah, you can order online everywhere nowadays, right? But you could order your pizza and you can kind of watch the pizza being, going through each step. So that was a way they can say, see, this is what we're doing. But I think it was really, really brilliant, because that seems like such a fun thing. Now we're used to stuff like that, like waiting for the Uber car. But back then, it probably wasn't so common. And finally, they did something that is happening even today that's quite interesting. They are improving and existing and designing new experiences. And I can think of three really interesting things, because they make great ads, if you happen to see them. One of them was about potholes. I don't know how it is in other countries, but in the US, we get all these potholes on the roads in the winter, and it just seems like it takes forever to get them fixed, and people, their tires go flat and damages their cars. It's just really annoying. And so Domino's had an ad campaign where they showed, where they talked about, we'll fix the potholes. Send us the locations of the potholes and we'll go out and fix them. So they had the ads where they actually paid to do this. It's quite funny. I don't know how that went. I don't know if they'll do it again this winter, but it was just quite cute. Another thing, you have, when you're ordering online, and you can't eat in a Domino's, at least not in the US. You have to pick it up or get it delivered. And a lot of times you might be at a park, or you might be at a pool or a beach, and they started delivering to these odd locations called hotspots, which is also interesting. And then another thing they recently came up with was a guarantee that if somehow your pizza got destroyed because you dropped it or were in an accident or whatever, they would replace your pizza for free. So they've done, so many things to capture attention. Their entire organization is just really focused on making a better experience for the customer and delighting the customer, and really kind of keeping us entertained as well. It's quite fun. So how do we actually translate DevOps, into customer-centric actions and towards business value? How do we actually do that? And there's a lot of aspects about DevOps that just quite lead to this. So for example, decrease lead times. This is one of my favorite things. So if we go back and think of how things used to be done and are still done in many cases, someone requests a new application or requests a feature. We get this idea for this feature. How long does it take to actually implement that? And that's lead time. In the past, it could be 6 months. It could be a year. It could be 2 years. With DevOps, you can release, small changes every day, multiple small changes every day, which seems shocking when you think about how things used to be done. So one of the things that high-performing DevOps organizations do is have very decreased lead times. They're able to roll out features very quickly. Redgate's an example. I was actually talking to one of my friends back home, and they have quite a few Redgate products, and she was saying about how they discovered a bug, a problem that they were having. They contacted Redgate support, and within a day, there was a fix. So I'm like, yes, love it. So that's, you know, I guess a bug fix is not really a feature, but this is an example of how fast you can move with DevOps. So one of the things that, especially for somebody with a DBA brain like me, that seems scary is, you know, moving so quickly. How do we make sure things don't break? And I think of back when I was a DBA and we'd have weekends where we'd do a lot of work, and you know, if we had way too many things happening the same weekend, a lot of times I would push back and say, hey, we better not do this thing because we've got this other project going on, and we, you know, if something breaks in that project, it's going to affect our project. So, you know, we're always rolling out a lot of changes all at once. And a lot of times those things failed. I remember entire weekends being in the office. In fact, that happened to me one summer when we were rolling out some software an office at a time. Out of like 20 offices, every weekend we were spending the entire weekend, and you know, with rollback plans, and you know, it was just miserable. And what happens with DevOps is because you're rolling out smaller changes at a time, less things fail. So DevOps organizations actually have really good failure rates. They don't fail nearly as often when they're rolling things out. If they do have a failure, they have faster recovery times. It's a lot easier to roll, well, like they usually say, roll forward, figure out a fix because it's small changes, and it's easier to roll a small fix forward than to try to roll back. Other thing that's really, really important is shifting left when it comes to testing and especially security. We've, in this industry, have had a tendency to wait until the last minute or forget some of these things. I've seen one of my friends that may be watching today that has had a little meme on Facebook one time, and he said, yes, I test, you know, but it's always in production or something like that. I can't remember, I can't say it in exact words, but yeah, testing happens in production. That's not where we want to find errors. We really want to find them at the beginning of the process. And so DevOps has automated testing throughout the entire pipeline. Security, that's something that, you know, in the past, a lot of folks, you know, just didn't think about, and it's becoming even more and more important in today's world. So we've got to think about these way up front, and that's how DevOps can really help us. That's what is expected. And really, what it comes down to is everybody's got to work together towards the same goal. If I'm a DBA, my goal can't be keep the SQL Server stable and secure and up. That's not my goal. My goal is to make the company succeed, help provide value for my customers. If I'm a developer, I can't just develop this app and then just throw it all over the wall when I'm done and expect somebody else to figure out how to implement it. It's, you know, we can't do that anymore. It's everybody has got to be responsible for the end goal, and everybody's got to work together. And that's really the first thing that you've got to do in DevOps. You've got to start building trust between teams, losing the silos, and, you know, just start working together. And, you know, I know it's a lot of work, but that's really the first step. So I'm wondering if there's any questions. No questions, okay. So next up is Chris Kurzweil, the wonderful, amazing Chris Kurzweil, I should say. He is a pre-sales engineer at Redgate, and he's going to talk about database DevOps across Microsoft IDEs. And I have another session later, so stay tuned. It's going to be super fun. Don't miss it. Bye, everybody.